Hey, everybody. My name is Nicholas Fafakis. I am one of the partners at the rep group And Sales. And Sales is a Midwest rep group. We cover primarily around the Great Lakes states. Our focus is selling products to retailers and representing some of the best brands in the industry. Um, I want to discuss social media with you today, as social media is something that is really a struggle for both the companies like ours, the other rep groups, the brands, but also it's a struggle for a lot of the retailers that we work with. But it is such an important aspect of the growing business world. So I thought I would bring in an expert, Kaylee Dion Pear, to discuss social media with us and discuss some of the strategies. Um, and if I can get Kaylee on here soon, then we can go into some of the best practices for social media and the importance of social media in our business environment in our gift and home industry today. Hi, Kaylee. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. So, if you could tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about Paired Up Social. You are the founder and owner and worker at amongst other
Yeah.
workers, but one of the boots on the ground at that with Paired Up Social. And if you could tell us a little bit about how you got started, and then we'll dive into some strategy and things to do.
Yeah, we've been working together. It's been so much fun, and I'm excited to be here and chat with everybody about social media. It's a love-hate relationship that even I have with social media, so I get it if you're cringe when the word's brought up. But I did 15 years in television before I started this company, and that's really important to the story behind Paired Up because when I was in television and I was a meteorologist, a big part of our job was to use social media to sell our brand, sell Kaylee, sell the station. And so as time went on, Twitter was a thing, and then it was Facebook, and then we do adapt to Instagram, and then there was Snapchat, and all of these different social media platforms have evolved over the years, but the strategy has been the same. And I really enjoyed that part of TV. I really enjoyed it. And I was kind of at the forefront. I won several awards that were attached to social media and meteorology or television. I won an Ebby for an Instagram TV news show out of Chicago, where we would do the top news stories in Insta stories so that you could get what you needed to know quickly. And that I really feel like that was the beginning of me creating Paired Up. And then it kind of evolved. I started this business in 2021, and now here we are. We have a team, I believe, of 6 of us. I could be off on that, but it's grown so much, and I love it. And we work with so many different people and so many different businesses. So we work with you guys. We also work with plastic surgeons, orthopedic surgeons, window installation companies, firework companies. The amount I know about fireworks is quite. If you would have told me 5 years ago how much I would know about fireworks, I would have laughed. But it's really neat, and no matter what the business is, Nick, the strategy is the same. So it really is just making sure you stay with your voice, which I will talk about through the podcast. But it's all really the same, and that's just kind of a little bit about me and the
That's
company.
Thank you so much. And you know, um, the gift and home industry, I feel like some of us are very high level and doing very well, but some of us are just we don't have a focus on it. Um, Maybe you could talk about why social media really matters, especially to our industry and to all industries, but really to the gift and home, both B2B and B2C.
Yeah, it's essential. That's the best word that I can put out there. It's just like in the 90s, if you weren't in the yellow pages, if your store or your business wasn't in the yellow pages in the 90s, then how are people finding you? How are they finding your address? How are they finding your phone number? It's almost the same thing. You have to have some type of social footprint, because what happens is, let's say that you're looking for ideas for a gift for your husband for Valentine's Day. You're going to go on Instagram and look for those ideas. You're going to go on Pinterest and look for those ideas visually. And if your store pops up, or you're on Facebook and you have a group and you have people going in there to talk about what they like and what they don't like, then immediately people already know, hey, I need to go in there. I need to look for something for my husband for Valentine's Day. So you've already put in their brain, and that's why social media is important all year round and not just when you think it's important, because if you're doing your social media at the time where you need people in the store, you've missed it, because we already need to have you in our brain before, so that when we need you, then we know about you. And so that's why it's essential, is to be able to show people what you have, who you are, why they should shop with you. All of those things are really, really important. So that's why it's really essential. And then another part of that is, you're connecting. People buy from people. We've talked about this many times. People buy from people, and you want to connect with somebody. And how are you going to do that? By the content that you're shooting. So if you're just trying to get it done, like, hey, I have to do social media today, so I'm just going to throw up this photo. Well, why are you throwing up the photo? What is it going to give to your target audience? You got to ask yourself those questions, or you just wasted your time by throwing up that photo, because you need to do content that really connects with people to be able to get them to stop and get them to want to come buy from you.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that is, what we're all trying to do is to connect, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Business and personal. We want to, as people, we want to connect. And one of the core groups that we're trying to connect with is the female buyer, because that really is the primary decision maker. So where are women looking? Where are they going? And how do we connect with them?
Well, that's a really good question. And it's at several different platforms. Does that mean you need to be on all of those platforms? No. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's a couple of different platforms. And Camilla, she's helping produce this behind the scenes. She also works social media with and sales. If you could throw up the slide that you're sharing your screen with that has a couple videos, perfect. Thank you so much. So before you push play, Camilla, I'm gonna talk about this for a second. So I have two different screens up here, and one of them has YouTube underneath. And yes, that is me in that video. And then the other one has, yes, that's Nick in that video. And it has Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and LTK. So yes, Facebook is important. Facebook is always important. It has the most amount of users on a daily basis, that it's part of every one of our packages. If you were to look into working with Paired Up, Facebook is attached to every package, no matter what. Now, you can add TikTok, you can add Pinterest, but Facebook's always going to be in there because we think it's essential to any business, including the gift and home industry. There's a couple of different ways you can utilize it, but it's important. But women are mainly on these platforms here, and for different reasons. So on the left, this is a video of one of my really close friends, Emily, and she is a beauty broadcaster. So she was a TV news anchor with me back on our first job. And she created a YouTube channel back in 2006 that highlighted her favorite makeup products. She had a passion for it. So she would just set up the camera, just a low grade camera, a small light, and she would tape them and she would put them on YouTube. Fast forward a couple years later, and she's quitting her TV job because she's so successful on YouTube, and the products are successful on YouTube. Can you hit play for a second, Camilla? I want to play just a little clip from it. I'm not a very sanitary, clean individual in the tote. Easy goes a long way with Kaylee Dion. Like, easy. This hasn't been used since like 2006. Story time. Pull a chair, get out the marshmallows. This is a great experience.
Hi, everyone. Do you know who this is? This is my friend Kaylee. Kaylee has done weather. You may recognize her from several different markets. Always love when the top just lifts off as opposed to, actually opening.
Okay, so a couple of things, Nick, I want to point out about this video. And YouTube look how authentic. We're very real. That's just a little small clip, but we're just acting like we would if the camera was off and it was just us hanging out. Same with you and I recording this podcast. If it was just me and you hanging out, this is the way that we would interact. The background's messy. It's not cleaned up. It's got a coffee cup that I've been drinking out of with my lipstick on it. Like it is, yes. Does our lighting look good? Yes, that's important. So still there's some things that are important, but it doesn't have to be a huge on production where you have to hire a photographer that costs $1,000 for a half a day. You don't have to do all of those things to create content that's valuable for people. It's just taking what you do as a business owner or a brand and talking about the different types of things that you offer and maybe tips for people so that they can learn something, because then if you give them value when they need something, they're going to come to you. So
I mean,
YouTube
I think
is my favorite.
I think that's one of the challenges we face, right? As we or maybe one of the excuses we come up with is we want that high production level. Um, we want that perfection, but that's not what the consumer is looking for. That's what you're saying. They're looking for a messy background. They're looking for real.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. I remember when I was in television, I was doing weather. The main comment I would get was, "Wow, you are so real on camera. Like when you mess up, you kind of laugh about it," or when that's always been the case. But I think for so long our generation was used to like news and TV shows that were edited and the actors looked perfect and their lines were, everything was lined up. Well, now what do kids want to be when they grow up? They want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
They don't want to be an actor. They don't want to be an actress. They don't want to be a TV news anchor. They want to be a YouTuber because they can be themselves and they can connect and share information. And that tells you something about the consumer. So if you're thinking about who you're reaching, you got to think like they do. And the way that they find things is by going and looking at it in a real life scenario. So that's going to be big. Now, the next video on the side, you can see there with Nick in there, a push play. Let's watch that first.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so this is good, Nick, because we talk a lot about B2C, right? And that's what a lot of social media is used for. It is. I'll tell you that right now. It's really important for selling products. But when you're trying to show what you do for others and work with other businesses and sell your services, it's still just as important. It just may be on different platforms or set up a different way. So this video we put together for And Sales, it showcased you around the market because that's where you're connecting and you're connecting with the different customers that you guys have, and you're looking at the different products that are going to be popular, and you're trying to make sure you give them the value, your customers the value. Well, you're doing the exact same thing on social media. The same thing you would do for them, you're giving to people. Yeah, you don't have to give all the goods, right? But you want to give enough, so that when somebody's thinking, okay, I want to work with you guys. Okay, well, you know what? I've been seeing Nick. He's all over And Sales. He's hit the vendors they work with, the people they work with. They're all over. They're showcasing their clients, and they're trying to really that goes a long way with somebody, right?
Yeah, I mean it's huge because you're right. I mean, we're trying to connect.
And women are on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, LDK, as well as YouTube. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. We need to kind of move along a little bit here, but I did want to discuss that they're on those platforms because they want to see visual. They want to see short videos. Our attention spans are so small. So when you're putting together videos, you might have a video that you can talk about 5 different things in, make them 5 different videos. Make it easy for them to take in and to be able to register, or they're going to swipe right past your video. We don't have time for in-depth situations. Our brains are oversaturated with stuff. And so we need to make it as simple as possible. Okay, so let's move on.
The same.
What?
But video, all the same.
All the same. You asked me a question the other day. It's hard for a lot of some of the people that work with you to be able to take those videos. They can still take photos and put that into a video form. There are several free apps that do that. CapCut's one of them. Mojo, Mojo, that's another one. Canva has a free program you can use. iMovie comes on all Apple devices, whether it's a Mac or an iPhone. That's an easy way to throw in photos, and it does like a moving, and you can just set how long you want them on the screen. And that's going to be big. So looking up some of those, there's several apps you can use. And honestly, the biggest thing before we move on to B2B and B2C is use what you're comfortable with. On my team, I don't say you have to use this and you have to use that. Now, I pay for certain platform services that they can use, but if you use something and it works for you, use it. It's not about, it's about efficiency and making it easy for you to get the work done. So we don't want to make it too hard.
Awesome. So yeah, let's get into B2B versus B2C, because we want to help out even the competitive rep groups, but we want to help out our brands, and of course we want to help our retailers. Our retailers they're looking to reach that end consumer. So we're in this weird world where we need to develop both sides. So if you could talk a little bit about the differences and similarities between creating content for a B2B market, and maybe it's not even the content, maybe it's the platforms.
Yeah. So we're going to start with B2B first. And, what I want to say about this is the biggest thing is going to be building trust with social media and a lot of the big fake news, and you never know what's real. The reason your presence on social media is just as important as making sure people know about you is to build trust, because there's a lot of ads out there now, and there's a lot of things out there where you don't even know who you're working with. So that's why when we work with clients, we say, yes, we'll do videos without people in them, but we also need people from the company in them so that we can showcase who people are going to be working with. That'll go a really long way. Another thing is show your expertise, educate. The 4 E's of content we went over: educate. Here they are: emotion, engaging, entertaining, and educational. For B2B, education is going to be the biggest one, because you want to showcase what you do for people, how you do it. Now, you don't have to give away everything, because you do have competitors out there, and that's respected, but you got to give little nuggets. I mean, I paired up, we do videos all the time where we're giving tips on how a business owner can run that themselves. Do we want people to work with us? Yes. But why would they work with us if we didn't show them how they can do it themselves? Then they would just be like, well, what are you going to do for me? But if they try to do it themselves because of the tips we gave them, and then they are like, wait, this is way too much for me, who are they going to think of when they need the help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That's the same business model for a B2B. You've got to showcase your expertise, educate your customers on social media, educate retailers on social media, and also showcase your customer stuff. And that can be in the same way you would do a B2C, showcase the product, how the product can be used. But it all goes back to the client. Then your client's happy because they're showcasing us. That's just another collab that we're going to get to see more eyeballs that can potentially turn those eyeballs into customers. So it's a win-win for you. It's a win-win for them. And so that's kind of a way to do that. Let's go over to B2C. So before I do that, real quick, LinkedIn and YouTube, Instagram and Facebook, those are going to be the best platforms for B2B. Do you need to be on all of them? No, we'll talk about that more later. So I'm going to pause that. So B2C, there's just so much information for B2C that's out there, but biggest thing is going to be showcasing how your products can be used in real life scenarios. Show me how to use it. I am A, lazy, and B, I just can't think. I'm not creative enough in that way. I'm creative, but I'm not creative in that way. So show me how I can use this product that you have in your store and how I can use it that can better my life. Boom, you've already got me clicking on a link or finding your location and going to your store. That automatically is going to help at least me, and I'm your target audience. Show me. You got to make it easy on me. We are a lazy human race. We don't want to do anything for ourselves. We don't even want to think for ourselves. So that's what social media is used for, is to help us see how it can work. It's also a good spot for B2C to ask what your customers want. Maybe say, hey, we're going to the market. Here's some things we're looking for. What would you want to see on our store shelves? That's great content right there that you can put out there to then learn what your customers want to see coming into the next sales cycle. And then you want to storytell. You want to storytell because you want to, are you a family-owned business? Are you a local where mom pop shop where local matters and your community needs to see that? How long have you been there? Tell them you can't assume people know things. You have to treat
Right.
social media like people don't know, they don't have a clue at all. So that's going to
So
be
I
the
mean,
biggest.
so it's a great way to, yeah, you're educating, but you're engaging. You're, you know, I want to talk a little bit about voice and what voice is specifically, and how do you use, do you change voice per platform, or how do you stay consistent? What, is voice a person? Is it a
Yeah.
brand? What, I mean, does it have an age? Does it have a gender? So if you could dive into that a little bit, then
All of the above. The answer is yes. No, so they have all those. And I think we're going to go into this more in a later podcast. So I'm going to scratch the surface on this, but really the voice is the brand. It's also the platform. So let's say you're on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's going to be more of a educational and news platform. Like, hey, tell me what's new in your company. Tell me what's going on here. Hey, is there something like, for instance, in my world, when the updates on the TikTok ban or the potential for a TikTok ban, that's going to be an article or a live stream that we create where we talk about that and we give our opinions and our educational information in there. That's going to be what you're doing on LinkedIn. It's a little bit more buttoned up, we'll say. Then
Gotcha.
you're going to go on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all of those. And it's going to be a little bit more a younger demographic. So age is going to be important. And the way you tell it is more of a real life, behind the scenes, day in the life. Show me how to use your product, or show me what you do for your customers. That's going to be the voice that's there, but it's still going to be your brand. Keep it all the same. Don't jump on trend after trend. If the trend makes sense, do it. But if you're working with, the gift and home industry and you have clients, I'm not expecting Nick to be dancing through the market. Like that's
I mean,
not
I
the
always
voice.
do.
But I mean, I know we might even see you slide down the escalator of the banner. Like, we don't know. Hey, stay tuned. But you know what I mean? Like, don't try to be someone you're not. When it comes to voice, if you have, let's say you start and you have a person who's always on camera, keep it that way. Keep that person, okay? Or people. If there is multiple team members that are on, that's fine. Just make sure they're always the same and you're not just disappearing and you don't see them again, because it's the same thing as why you watch a certain news channel or a TV show. You get used to the people who are on there and you feel connected to them, and that's why you keep turning it on. It's the same thing with social media. They want to know what to expect, so you have to keep that consistent. So the people that are on there and the way you do it needs to stay consistent as well. So it's Nick for and sales. Now all of a sudden we don't want to just see this random person and Nick's gone for months at a time, because then we don't know what happened and we don't feel safe and we don't feel trust, and it's all off, all wonky, right?
So you're creating a series.
You're creating a series and it's going to go on for the rest of time. Sorry.
So
Welcome.
So I'm going to ask you, for pro tips, but I'm going to ask you for next steps for everybody. But I don't want to just say, next steps for both those who maybe haven't started at all, or have just maybe created a profile, or have one or two posts, as well as those who might be a little bit more advanced. So what tips and steps can you provide?
Okay, so I'm going to say this right now. Don't set yourself up to fail, okay? if you're doing this, make sure that you set a reasonable expectation for yourself. Don't try to do 5 posts or 2 posts a day and all of that you're not going to be able to do that right off the bat. Realistic expectations, 2 a day, 2 a week, maybe then add 3 a week, build out a calendar, get ahead. It's constantly what I'm telling my entire team. Get ahead, because there's going to be days where you're busy with the other stuff you got to do, right? The 100,000 other things you got to do. Social media needs to be the last thing that you're worried about. So if it's already done for the week, you can put that out of your mind. And then if you get an idea, you can go in there and put it down for 2 weeks later. And then look at that. The stress of having to do it is gone. Okay. And then it's more reasonable that you can keep it consistent for a long period of time. That's number one. And don't do too many platforms at once. Pick the top 2. The top 2. So let's say you're B2B, LinkedIn. Let's do LinkedIn and Facebook to start. Okay. Getting your brand out there. Then once you kind of have that down and you feel like it's manageable, let's add in Instagram. YouTube's a harder platform. I want you to add in YouTube soon, but you got to kind of get it going. And then from there, you can add on later. So that's my pro tip number 2. Number 3 is don't worry about the views and the followers. Okay. Yes, it's important.
That's tough.
Yes, it's in there. But let's say you're not getting a lot of views or followers on things. Well, if you just started, again, just like TV, when they change an anchor out, it takes a while for people to get used to it, right? So you're just coming on. The platforms have to know, and the people who are watching have to know you're going to be there in 3 months. That you're not going to leave them stranded and not give them any new content. So it takes, if you're organic, which means no ads, takes about 7 months to a year for things to really ignite. Okay. If you are consistent, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You got to be there forever now. You have to. It's not a, hey, we'll do this for a little while. If it doesn't work, we won't do it no more. That's not how it works anymore. So give yourself the manageable expectations and know it's going to be a slow ride, but you'll get there. Now, some people, it won't be a slow ride. And if your content takes off, then just keep doing what you're doing. But don't change the strategy if it's not working right off the bat. That's the point of that. Keep the strategy going. Now, if in 8 months, we're not getting where we need to go, then let's talk about a change in maybe some of the content ideas that you have. But that's my biggest thing as well. So those are my top 3. I know we're going to have more podcasts and we're going to talk more about that. So I will get into that, but that's going to be and that's for if you're starting from scratch and if you've been doing it a while, because if you've been doing it a while, but it's been very up and down, you do it a lot and then you stop. It's the same thing as just starting from scratch.
So video, consistency,
consistent. Yep.
And have a calendar, have a strategy, and to not overwhelm yourself.
Yeah, just put an idea in there. Maybe a frequently asked question that you get from your customers on Fridays. Maybe on Monday you do a motivational quote that you like, or you do Wednesday you do a customer testimonial. Boom, there's 3 posts that week. Write them awesome ideas in the calendar, and then go in there, and then just national holidays. There's a holiday for every day of the year. Go on that website and look for different holidays that you can pull into your content.
I think that's so helpful. I look forward to diving into this even more with you. I know we've set up time to speak in the near future, and and sharing this with everybody. So thank you so much for your time, Kaylee. And again, I look forward to getting more into this with you, because it's really interesting, and it's really important for all of us.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited to unpack more. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below. Please ask us. Send us a message on any of and sales platforms or paired up platforms. We're going to be tagged in this, and send us questions, and we can follow up in some later podcasts. So I really do appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, I would ask everybody, even if you are using a different company, or if you are doing things great on your own, I do suggest following Kaylee and Paired Up Social, so that you can see those tips that she posts, because they really are helpful.
Well, thank you, Nick.
All right. Thank you, Kaylee. We'll talk to you soon.